Session 5 of R programming. So, friends, till now we have seen, we have gone through the introduction, and after that we have seen about the different the variables, the data types, okay, and what are the different operators what we have used in the R programming, right? And after the third day, we have looked into the vector. Means what is the vectors and what are the users of vectors. We have gone through all those things, right? And on day 4, we have in yesterday's class, we have seen about various things like how the matrices, the multi-dimension arrays, okay, and how the data frame is being how we use the data frame, how the data frame is being constructed, and also what's the difference between your vector and list. So all these things we have seen in the yesterday's class, okay. And apart from that, we have seen the introduction to functions, right? So in today's class, we'll be learning about the functions, okay? So before moving on to the functions, I would like to ask you a question. What is the use of a function? Why are we using a function? Why the functions are needed? Maybe in any programming language, whether it may be Python, whether it may be R programming, or whether it may be C or C++. What's the purpose of a function? Okay, so let me tell you, friends. The functions are like a basic building blocks of any programming language. Question arises, why? Because when I'm talking about the functions are meant to be used for the reusability. Okay, so what do you mean by reusability? So when you're talking about the reusability means we'll be able to use the chunk of the program. See, mostly the programs what we write, we'll be writing in terms of different lines of codes. Okay, but if we say that we'll be able to use the code once again, okay, so that will be very helpful for us. So that is what is the principle, what is thing we do in the functions. Okay, so in simple and straight words, we can say the reusability. Okay, the functions are like used for the reusability concepts. Okay, just give me a moment, friends. Let me connect my this writing part. Okay, that's fine. So functions are meant for the reusability. They are the basic building blocks of any programming, and functions are meant for the reusability. So what we do in a function? Let me give a small example. Okay, so when you go to a restaurant, what you do? Generally, you might be ordering some kind of food items, maybe a biryani or maybe paneer butter masala, or different means upon your wish, you will be ordering some food, right? Then, what happens? The person who is taking up the order, he takes the order and he gives to the cook. Okay, but if you can observe, when we generally cook in our home, it takes some time, it'll take around 1 hour of time for us to cook all the maybe biryani, whatever the special foods what we cook in our home. But when you're talking about the restaurants, it takes around 15 minutes or 20 minutes for them to prepare. So how are they going to prepare those things? Very simple. They use the same ingredients for, most of the ingredients what they use, they keep everything ready. Right? In similar lines, when you're comparing your functions also, okay, we'll be keeping some blocks of code ready, okay, and each and every time we call them, okay, we can use it as per our wish and making some small changes in the code. That is what is the purpose of a function. Just like, let us say if your parents are calling you, then what you do? You just come, you approach your parents and they will assign you some work and you'll do the task, right? In similar way, when you're calling a function, Okay, we name each and every function, and when you're calling the function, it appears before you. And if you do some modifications inside that, that will work as per your requirement. Okay. So friends, here when you're talking about these functions, okay, functions are of two types. One is user-defined function, and other is built-in functions. So what do you mean by the user-defined function? What do you mean by the built-in functions? So friends, when you are using, when you are like taking, means like when you're taking the name, means like when you're naming the function as per a wish, so that is called as a user-defined function, and the built-in functions are the functions which has been predefined by your system, maybe using some keywords. We cannot change the name of this keyword. So those comes under the built-in functions. Got it, friends? And let me ask you one question, friends. So what are, means like we have some keywords, right? So can we use those keywords in a function, in a user-defined function? No, we cannot use any. We have to follow some set of protocols when we are defining a function. Okay. So when we are defining a function, we need to follow some set of means the rules which has to be followed. Just like when we are initializing the variables, how we have followed some set of protocols. In the same way, when we are going with these functions, we have to follow some set of rules. Okay. Just like we should, means like we should write, means let me give you a syntax for that. So if you want to define the function, just give the function name. Okay, let me first erase this. Okay. So just give the syntax. Syntax is function name, and here we have to write it as function. This is important, friends. You have to write function. And if you have, okay, let me write it in a better way so that it's going somewhere clumsy. So sorry, guys. Let me start from here. Give some function name. Okay. Which has to be pointed with, which has to be like assigned to the function. Don't forget to write the function here. So this tells us that, tells the interpreter that we are writing a function. And here inside this arguments, it might be optional. It depends. If you want to pass any arguments, you can pass it, or else it's an optional one. And here we are going to write our statements. Okay. Here we are supposed to write our statements. And now this is the closing. Closing of function means like here we are just, here we have opened the function, write some statements, and here we have to close our function. So when this is done, okay. So whenever you are calling the function name, let us say you have called it function. Like this. So what happens? So this is going to call this function, and what are the statements which are written here will be executed. And if you want to change any, like if you want to give any now, it means if you want to change it and if you want to add any extra content to that, that has to be given inside this parenthesis. That is what is the arguments is meant for. Got it, friends? So arguments are optional. You can pass it without any arguments, but if you give arguments, that will be like it will be useful for us. If you want to make any changes here, just give the arguments here, and our program will run as per our wish. Got it, friends? Now, This is what we have seen in yesterday's class. Like we have gone with the temperature. We have gone with like we have like developed. Means we made a matrix out of white and yellow colors with some dimensions 3, 3, 2. If you can remember yesterday's class. And yes, we have the data frames. We have taken some values, and from this we have built some data frames, and we have talked about the difference between the data, means difference between the list and the vectors. And apart from that, we have taken this BMI, and then the BMI, we have written some data and we made a data frame out of this, right? And like we have gone through these conditional statements also, friends. So conditional statements are very, very important. This is also basic building blocks, friends. Apart from loops, so the loops we have discussed about two different loops. What are they, friends? Yes, I need an answer in the chat. What are the different loops we have seen? Different types of loops. What are the different types of loops we have in R programming in general? Yes, friends. So one is, we call it as finite and infinite loops. We call them as finite and infinite loops. Okay. So can you please tell me an example of finite loops? Yes, friends, I need an answer. What are the examples of finite loops, friends? So you can take it as for loop. Okay, so for loop is an example of finite loop. And what about infinite loop? Yes, it's exactly the while loop will be counted as a infinite loop. Okay, when you're talking about the loops, we have two loops, for loop and the while loop. So for loop will be like considered as for loop will be considered as a finite loop, and in while loop will be infinite loop. So friends, I just need the answer, friends. Okay, now so that's what we have seen the inbuilt function. So when you're talking about the functions, we have seen means like just now we have seen the inbuilt function and the customer defined function. And friends, if you're looking into this example here, what is exactly happening? I'm giving the number here. Okay. The num is the name of the function. Num is the name of the custom defined, but there's a user defined function, we can call it as. And I told you, friends, this function word has to be written, and this is important. Then only your interpreter can understand that you have written some function there, or else until and unless it's not be considered. Okay. And inside the brackets, you have taken some argument as n. And here you have opened the braces. Now, here inside the function, we can write the loops also. Okay, it's not like we can write the loops, we can write conditional statements, and we can mix and match the conditional statements along with the loops. Whether the loop can be whether a while loop or a for loop. It's completely a wish. The logic is which depends upon us. How we write the code. What is the final output we want? Right? So completely logic is in our hands. So what are the loop structures or maybe conditional statements, whatever you want to include inside the function, we can include it. But one thing we have to remember that how much means like how much means how many number of lines of code we are reducing, that much of burden will be less on our interpreter. Okay, so for as of now, we are going with the num, the function of n, and here I'm running a loop for I value and I in 1 is to n. So I'm taking the I value from 1 to n. Okay. Now, what is that is each and every time I have to print the value of I. Okay. And what is this n here? It is the argument, friends. Okay. So we have closed this function. Now, when I'm calling the number, means this function, which is with having the name of a num, and inside this n, if you can see here, I have written the number 6. That is what is the argument what I have passed. So when I'm passing this argument as 6, so this is each and every time. It will be going through the numbers and it will be, so first time when it gets incremented, it prints me the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Likewise, it's going to print me then all the numbers. Okay, let me show you the output of this. So when I'm selecting this entire code and when I'm running this, so this is going to give me the output as from numbers from right from 1 to 6. Okay. Now friends, here, the second example, we are going with, we have given the F1 as a name of a function. F1 as a name of a function, and we have defined it as a function. So we have written the function, the keyword there. And in the arguments, what I have done, the arguments I have passed it as X and Y and braces open. Now, what is that? I'm going to calculate the area, right? So what is the formula of area, friends? You all know what is the formula of area? Area of maybe rectangle A into B, right? So let me check in and let me check in the messages. I'm not getting any chats. Why? Okay. So if you're talking about this area here, so it is X into Y. Okay. Now, so X is one value and Y is one value, which we are passing in terms of arguments. So X and Y and printing the area. Okay. Now, what I say is I've called the function F and inside the parentheses, I'm giving the values of 4 and 5. So this is one way. Okay. And apart from that, we have one more way, that is F2. So I've taken one more function with the name of F2, friends. And in this function, what I'm giving is I have assigned some values. Means like I have given some values directly here, 5 and 10. These are called as formal arguments or parameters. Okay. So I have given the predefined value, means like by chance, it's not, it is like a formal way I have given in terms of, or else I can say the default values. The default values is given as 5 and 4. X is equal to 5 and Y is equal to 4. Okay. Now, here also I'm writing the formula of area is equal to X into Y. And I'm asking you to print the area. Now, let's check the output of F1 and F2. Okay, friends. So, let me select this entire area and let me select the 5 and 4 also. And if I run this, so what is the answer? We all know 5 into 4, obviously you will be getting an answer as 20. Yes or no? So obvious, it's quite obvious to get an answer as 20. Now here, friends, let me erase this. So here in this formula, I have given F2 and I have given some values. Okay. First initialize, means like first initialize this, and now see here in the F2, see when I run F2 here, and in the F2, mind you friends, I haven't given any arguments. I'm not going to pass any arguments in the F2. So it is a completely empty parenthesis. Okay. So when I'm trying to run this, what will happen? It's quite obvious. We have the default values. What are the default values we have in the function there, the F2, 5 and 4. So based upon that, I'm getting an answer as 20, right? Even though I'm not passing any argument, when I'm calling the function F2, I'm getting the answer as 20. Okay. And the second, and let me say, if I don't give any values to the F1, so what about this F1, friends? In the F1, I've just given it as X and Y, and I haven't given any default values there. Okay. And if I try to execute this F1, what will be the answer? Friends, I need your answer in the chats. I want to know. Just reply what will be the answer, friends. Yes, exactly. Mohammed, I need an answer from you. Okay, I think no one is answering this question. So it'll not give, it'll simply throw me an error. Why? Because I haven't given any value here, default value, and here also I'm not going to give any value. So it's quite obvious that it throws an error. Argument X is missing with no default values. Right, friends? So that is what it happens when I'm not giving any default values here. Okay. And now let's look into the third case here, where I'm into the F2. Already have given, but in F2, I have given some default values as 5 and 4. X is equal to 5 and Y is equal to 4. And now I want to change those values. Is it possible? Yes, it's quite possible. Now let's check. So when I'm giving the default values, I'm giving the actual parameters. Okay, the default parameters are 5 and 4. And now I'm giving the actual parameters as 10 and 5. So these numbers which were given as a form like default values will be replaced with the new numbers, that is 10 and 5, and based upon that I'll be getting the answer as 50. Got it, friends? So this is how we are supposed to pass an argument in a function. It's not only applicable with the numbers, friends. We can go with the key values also. Okay, the key and its value, and we can go with the different data types. Okay. Now, let's move on to the third example here. So here what I've done, I have taken the F3 and a function of n. And here is that I'm checking if n is greater than 0, then print greater than 0, or else if n is less than 0, print less than 0, or else print the output as 0 and return the output. Okay. Now, here I haven't given any argument, means I have given the argument, that too in the form of a variable, but I haven't given any actual number. I haven't assigned an actual number to the variable n. Okay. Now, when I try to execute this, friends, okay, and when I give F3 value is equal to 0, so what will be the answer? It's quite obvious. It's going to give me the output as 0. Why? Because this is the last condition. Friends, remember, we are going with the if and else condition here. Else if, and else. So first condition, the number if it is greater than 0. Second condition, number less than 0. Third condition, if none of the 0 or if it is none of the negative or positive numbers, we are getting the output as 0 because we have given it as 0. Okay. Now, I'm taking as F3 is equal to 10. Now, what will be the output? It's quite obvious that 10 value, what we have passed as an argument, it is greater than 0. The similar lines, if I go with 0.3, what will be the answer, friends? Obviously, even though it's a decimal number, it is greater than 0. So that is the reason why I'm getting the output as greater than 0. Okay. In the similar way, in the similar lines, if I'm going with -1, okay, so minus is a negative number. It says it is less than 0, friends. So likewise, we have given you a very small example. You can go with, depending upon your condition, you can extend the code. Let us say, you can say enter a number from a console. You can give the numbers run directly from console. And from there, you can say that, this is not a number, select this number. Or else you can go with a switch case. So likewise, we can mix and match the conditional statements with the functions, and you can do miracles, friends. You can write any code. You can write any code. You can go to any extent. You can use all the logic to get an answer. The required output, whatever you want to get. Okay. Why? Because the functions is having a capability of, it has a reusability, and based upon that capability, we can use the functions anywhere, and that reduces the length of the code. The same time, it makes the life of a coder very easy. Okay, friends. Now, here we have the dot library paths. So when I try to execute this, so friends, these are the different packages what we have already downloaded. Let me see what are the different libraries what we have. It is showing us here. Okay. Now friends, if you can have a look here, here you have the install option, and here you have the files option, plots, install, help, viewer, and presentation. So if you want to install any library, then you can install the library. How can we install the library, friends? So here we have a repository by name CRAN. If you just click on this, we have a CRAN repository. That is what we have discussed in the very first class, friends. Yes, for loops and while loops. Yes, friends. It is important for the CS in the college? Yes. This R is important. R is also equally important language, just like your Python language. So friends, when I'm going through questions, I have come across one question. One person has asked, asked a question in the chat. See which one is more better, whether it is R language or whether it is a Python language. So let me clear your doubt, friends. So friends, if you are interested in the statistical, you want to go with the statistical models and want to solve the statistical problems, you can go with the R. And apart from the statistical solutions, like if you are dealing with the data visualizations, okay, data visualization techniques are really beautiful compared to your Python. If you want to be a researcher, if you want to do more statistical like work with the data, then I will say this R language is a good fit for you. It's really a good fit. As a researcher, if you want to grow your career, R is a very good language, friend. So that is the reason why we are taking this live sessions. Okay. So if you want to be a statistician and if you want to do the data visualizations, if you want to show it in a best manner, R is a really good fit for you. Why? Because compared to your Python here, we are able to generate the pie chart, bar chart, histogram. It's very flexible compared to Python. And writing the code, if you're comparing it with the Python, the code writing in your R is very easy. Okay. And when you're talking about this, R is basically preferred for the data visualization. It has a lots of capability, friends, and is much more better than compared to Python in terms of data visualizations and statistical models. Okay. And if you're talking maybe a scatter plots, what are the plots you want to plot? You can plot it using the R programming. Okay. That was the question. I hope my question my answer has reached the person who was asking me this question. Okay, fine. Now, so here we have the repository and we can download any packages from the repository, friends. And here, if you want, you can just check it where you can get it. And just when you click on it, when you click a tick mark on that, so that library will be automatically installed. Whichever library you want to install it, you can install it. And if you uncheck that, that will be automatically uninstalled. Okay. Isn't it easy? Yes, it is very easy, friends. It's very easy compared to your Python. Okay. Because Python is also equally important and Python is also very easy. And here also you can go with the data analysis part. But Data visualization is something which will helps you plot your, and means what is the solution what you have got, whether it may be pie chart, a bar plot, or maybe histogram. It plots in a beautiful way that anyone can understand. It's not clumsy. Okay. Now, like coming to this packages, you can install the packages from here, friends. Just give a tick mark and that will get downloaded here. Okay. Or else if you simply click on install packages also, this is going to install the packages. Now, friends, here comes the real deal. Okay. When you're talking about the whether maybe a data scientist or data analyst, yesterday also we had to talk about this, right? So when we are talking about maybe data scientist or data analyst, they have to deal with chunks and chunks of data, larger data, large and large amount of data. So how is the data is being stored? Have you got any idea? Have you ever thought of that? Yes, the data, what maybe the data scientist or maybe data analyst will be working on. So most of the part of the data will be in the form of CSV files, comma separated value files. It's kind of an Excel sheet, but it is having a comma separated file. Means like it can hold larger data. Okay. And we have to load those files into a data frame. Yesterday also we have discussed about the data frame. So friends, what do you mean by DF data frame? Any idea yesterday? You can remember, please answer me in the chat. What do you mean by data frame? Friends, tell me what do you mean by data frame? I need an answer in the chat. Okay, if you're not answering, let me answer the question because I don't want to waste your time. So data frame is like a data structure which is going to hold or store your data, okay, in the form of a tabular form. Okay, so you may be storing your CSV file in a local system, in your laptop, maybe in D driver, E driver, wherever it is. Okay, then what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to read that file. Okay, and how are we going to read that file? We have to give some name to the data frame. Mostly by default, we'll be calling the data frame as DF. But my dear friends, you can, instead of DF, you can give the name. It is user defined. It is your wish. Instead of DF, if I give it as EDU also, it will do. Anything will do. But you have to maintain the consistency. If you're going with the EDU and each and everywhere where you're defining that, means when your comments like you're using the data frame, you have to give that, you have to remember and you have to give the same name, or else that will throw an error. So let us say it is here we have call the function using the DF, that is a data frame. And friends, it's very easy. What I said here, read.csv. Okay, read.csv, and here is what I've given the location of the data set, where my data set is being stored. Okay. Now, friends, let me execute this. Okay. So when I'm executing this and when I execute this, so this is going to give me the values of the GMAT. Okay. So GMAT is a column name of the, let me show here. It will be somewhere here. So after this, if I say DF, if I run this, so friends, when I say DF and if I run this, so it's going to show me the values what the DF is containing. Okay, so these are all the different means like along with the column names, what the DF is containing. Okay, if you can see here, it is having the 3 columns. The data frame, which has been loaded from the education.csv. So education.csv is the name of the file which I wanted to load. So this particular education.csv is having the columns like roll number, workx, and GMAT. It's having 3 columns. Okay. So for the 3 columns, what are the different values what we have? It is being displayed here. Okay. Now, if I want to traverse through the column, then friends, what I have to do? I have to give the name of the column using a dollar symbol. Okay. DF dollar symbol along with the GMAT. That is the name of the column what we have in the data set. Okay, so when I call like this, it's going to give me only the numbers. So it is having 772 records, friends. Right from 1 to 771, it is having totally 771 records. And similar case, we have the workx. So it's also having the 771 records. Okay. When I say attach DF, friends, what happens? Attach DF, and when I say GMAT and workx. So this is going to give me the details of both GMAT and workx together. Okay. Now, so this is how we are supposed to load load a file in a data frame. Now, friends, let's have a short look at the mind map so that we'll see like if there is any point is missing, we can discuss here. So, friends, we have looked into the history of the C. I mean the R language. And we have looked into the statistical computing and what do you mean by what are the different features of R languages and how the guided user interface, that is guided user interface, we can for using this we have to make use of the R Studio, and also we have a cloud service called as POSIT. This is what we have seen in the very first class, right? And now coming to the variables, we have the memory pointers and we have some standards for the variables. That means we have some protocols which has to be followed while we are declaring the variables, right? So these are the set of protocols what you are supposed to write. Okay. And now, and when we're talking about these operators, friends, we have seen the set of operators like we have operators like assignment operator, arithmetic operator, relational operator, and logical operator and special operator, right? And we have the data types here, friends. In double character, Boolean, complex, and data structures here, friends. We have vectors. Yes. Talking about these vectors, we have vectors. We have vectors which are one-dimensional, list which is one-dimensional, factors, categorical data, matrix data. Okay, we have array and data frame. So here is where we are, the data frames, default and data abstraction, and rows and columns. So friends, I told you the data frame is where we are going to arrange the complete data in the form of a tabular, means in the form of rows and columns. So entire data will be stored in the form of a rows and columns. And here you can see in the present scenario, that is the education file. Here we are having 3 columns. What are they? GMAT, roll number, and the workx. So these are the 3 columns. And if you want to go with any data manipulation, we'll be working on the 3 columns. Got it, friends? Now, let's come back to the to here. Friends, here we have the conditional statements here, friends. So conditional statements here consists of if else, if, and nested if. Okay. When we are talking about the loops, friends, I told you we have finite loops and infinite loops. So here we get it as while, for, repeat, break, and switch. So this is what we have discussed yesterday. So while is an infinite loop. So it keeps on hovering in a loop until it is true. Once the condition is false, the while statement will be breaking and it will be coming out of the loop. So that is the only way to make your while statement turn from infinite loop to the finite loop. Okay. And for is anyhow it is a finite loop. So for loop, we have to iterate with some predefined conditions. Okay. Now When you're talking about the function here, friends, so functions, under the functions, we have two different types of functions. One is inbuilt function and one is user-defined function. And under the user-defined function, here it is how you write a syntax for your user-defined function. Okay, friends. When you're talking about the packages, friends, here we have lots and lots of packages in the R programming. Okay, so which has been stored in the CRAN repository. Okay, and if you want to install those libraries, install those packages, what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to install the package on the system by typing the command, by just running the command install packages. Okay, and now invoke or load the installed packages into sessions memory. And here in the library, whatever we have, I shown you how to make a tick mark there, and we can load it from the library and list out all the available and build samples. So whenever I say data and within the brackets, so okay, I'll execute this and I'll show you. Whenever I write data, so this is going to show you the all the sample data sets which are present in your R language. Okay. Next, friends, we have the read the data. So that is what, so we can read either the CSV file, the text file, Excel, JSON file, XML file, and SPS file. So our R language is capable of reading all these files, friends. But mostly the data will be in a CSV file, and anyhow it can read the text file also, no issues and no problem with that. So we have this totally, we have different files which we can read and we can go accordingly. Okay. Means that it depends upon a requirement, completely depends upon a requirement. Now coming to the data analysis. Okay. So friends, when you're talking about the data analysis, here we have the exploratory data analysis. So friends, what do you mean by exploratory data analysis? We have the measures of tendency. It is the first business moment. Okay. The mean, the median, the mode. So friends, what do you mean by this mean, median, and mode? So let me explain it to you. So want me to suggest the R language practice coding suggestion. So friends, only way to practices R code is you have to go through, like you can go through any GitHub, you can take up any codes from there and you can run the code. Means like you can go to those codes and try practicing them. Or else means in our channel also we have different this art packages there. And our language videos are there. You can go to those videos and you can package them. I mean, you can practice them. So friends, let's talk about so let me talk about this. What do you mean by measures of central tendency, which you call it as a first moment of business? Okay, so first moment of business here means here we have the mean and mean. So let us say, friends, in a class, let us say there are 5 students. Okay, the 5 students. So out of that, so means they have obtained some marks. So let us say student number 1 has obtained 20 marks. So it is totally out of 50, 50 marks or maybe okay, let's go with 50 marks. The second student has attained 25. Third might have attained the 50 marks and fourth student might have attained 35 marks. Okay, friends. So when you are taking this, okay, and I said 5 students, right? So another student has attained some 38, let's go with 30 marks. Okay. So when you're looking into this data, so 5 students are there. When you're adding this, so the total is 6 plus 2, 8 plus 4, 13, 13 plus 6, 160. So total marks is 160. Okay. So when I'm taking the average of 160, is that right? 6, 7, 8. By 13, then is 160. So when I divide this 160 by 5, what will be the answer, friends? 36. Isn't it so? So divided by 3. So 1 will, sorry, not 36. Yes, it is 32. Okay. So now what happens is, yes, it's fine. So the average value is 32. Fine. So friends, if you can look here, average value, this is what we call it as mean value. Average value. Okay. So total number, so total marks divided by the number of students is going to give you the mean value. But friends, if you can see, 30 is somewhat near to 32 is somewhat near to this. And what about this 20? It's not near to the value 32. He has got only 20 marks. He has got only 25 marks. This person has obtained 50 marks, which is nowhere related to 32. And this one has got 35, which is somewhat related to the 32, means nearby that value. Okay. So what does this mean, friends? This means there is a outlier in the given data. Okay. See, look at this, friends. When we are talking about this exploratory data analysis, my data should be free from outliers and it should be unbiased data. Okay. So when you're talking about the outliers, so 50 is the outlier because this is completely something here. The student who has obtained 50 is completely like an extraordinary student. He is an outlier. He or she is an outlier. Okay. So that is what the generally, this is what we call it as mean. Okay. But when we have outliers in our data, we cannot go with the mean. Then how to deal with this problem? Very simple. We have the marks here. Put them in the ascending order. 20. Next comes 25, 30, 35, and 50. Okay. Now, when you take the mean of these values, when you take the median means the center value. When you take a center value, then that is a kind of which is free from your outlier. So this is the median value, the center value, what is called as. So from here, if you count 50 and 35, this is the center. Here you count 20 and 25, this is the center. So this is what we call it as a median value. Okay. And now when we have the numbers which are repeating, let us say, so what are the repeating numbers here, friends? 20, 20, and 25 and 25 are the repeating numbers. So when you're talking about the mode, we are having the repeated numbers in a data set, we call it as a mode. That will be considered as a mode. So here, if you're talking about this mode, 20 and 25 are the two modes. It's a multimodal thing. So that is what we are talking about the mode. So what is the measures of central tendency, friends? So when we are taking a curve, okay, when we are plotting the values what we have obtained, okay, the mean, median, and mode should be lying somewhere at the center here. That means the mean should be equal to median, should be equal to mode. Then only I can say that this is free from the outliers and this is the unbiased data. Okay, this is unbiased data. In order to maintain that, we have to deal with the outliers. If we have some outliers, what happens? This graph, which is a ideal graph, we call it as ideal graph, but when we plot this, when we are having some outliers, this will be either rightly skewed or left skewed. Okay, and here we have the measures of tendency here, friends. So this is what we call it as a first movement of business. And talking about this, we have the measure of dispersion, and here we have the second business movement. So when we are talking about the second business movement here, friends, so here we are going to calculate the variance and standard deviation. Okay, so what is the formula for variance and standard deviation, friends? The variance formula is like here we just give it in terms of variance, and here we have the standard deviation. Just we can write it in terms of SD with a a null parenthesis, but we have a formula there, that is mu sigma of uh sigma of mu means like the capital X, what is we are taking the number of objects what we have minus sigma, that is your mean, divided by x square is going to give you the variance. And when we are taking the square root of variance, that is going to give you the standard deviation. And we have one more thing, that is what we call it as range. That is the maximum and minimum range, friends. And friends, we are circulating the attendance sheet. Please don't forget to fill it and revert it back. Give it back, okay? We have the attendance sheet. We have already circulated it. Hi, Anamika. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the chat itself. So friends, we have the second business movement. So when you are talking about the second business movement, we have to find the variance and standard deviation in the minimum and maximum range. So why are we going through all this procedure? Because the data what we have collected will be having a lots and lots of impurities. We need to filter them out. So when we are filtering those data, we'll be getting some form of a pure data. Right? Just like a rice, if you want to eat a rice, if you want to cook some rice, cooked rice, then what we'll do? Generally, we'll be getting it from some grocery stores. Okay. After getting it from the grocery stores, what you'll do? You'll open the bag, take some container and put some rice into a bowl. Okay. Now what we'll do? You will first clean the rice with the water. Right. So that is what is this procedure what we are doing now, because it is having some dust. By default, we'll be having some dust on the rice. Okay, so that is what we'll be cleaning there. Same way, we have the data what we have obtained should also be cleansed properly, or else we'll be getting the output what we get will be error data. Very similar to when we are cooking a rice without cleaning the rice, it's not a hygienic. It's not good as per the hygienic point of view, right? Similar way, we have to clean the data. So that means whether it may be a first business moment, a second moment of business, okay? And likewise, we have the third business moment and the fourth business moment here. The third business moment deals with the skewness, and the fourth one deals with the kurtosis, okay? So we have to find out the skewness. That means I've shown you that whether the graph is towards left side or towards right side. Skewness. Similarly, talking about the kurtosis. So in the kurtosis means we have again platykurtic, and so this is the curve. So this is we're having a long tails. We have three different types. We have the platykurtic, mesokurtic, and we have this is platykurtic, mesokurtic, and this we have the leptokurtic. Okay. Now we will be finding out the kurtosis and the skewness. So based upon that, what we will try to do is we will try to bring our graph nearer to a central tendency. That means we want to bring it to ideal form as far as possible. So this is all the procedure what we go through it. Okay. And after that, we'll be going with the graphical representation, friends. So why we go with the graphical representation? Because we have the univariate, under univariate one, we have the bar plot, line chart, dot chart, pie chart, histogram, box plot, and QQ plot. And under the bivariate, we just have a bivariate thing. So why we are going with the graphical representation? In the graphical representation of also, if we have any like impurities, like if we have any outliers or maybe if there is any mistake, the data is not clear. So there it will be seen in the graphical representation. From there, again, we have to go with the data pre-processing, and we have to clean the data as much as possible so that when the data is cleansed, that data set, now on the data set, we can go with the training and testing where we'll be applying the statistical models. Got it, friends? So this is how when you're applying the statistical models and when we get some accuracy, we will decide that based upon the accuracy that this is a right model for this particular data set. Okay. Now, let's go back to the coding, friends. So this is how we are supposed to, like we have different box plots and all. Okay. Okay, friends. And I told you, like, if you want to see the predefined data sets, what we have, simply type your data. Okay. And when you run this, sorry. So when you write data and with after the data, when you write the blank parentheses, so this is what it shows you. These are the data sets. What means sample data sets which are available in the our programming. We can call them directly and we can use it in our programming codes. Okay. So as of now, we can see that I have already downloaded a data set which is related to the. So friends, this is the like already I have downloaded the data set here. And now this is the data set, Titanic data set. Okay. So when I'm trying to execute this, okay. And when I say view Titanic, so Titanic is the name of the data frame, friends. Titanic is the name of the data frame, what I have loaded from the system. And here you can see the passenger IDs, and this is the data frame. And here you can see the different columns which are present in the data set. That is the passenger ID, survived, B class, name. Okay. Yes, we are talking about the old Titanic ship only, and this is a famous, very, very famous and old data set. But why we are using this data set is because we can derive many insights, and it is useful for, means it is contained in different types of outliers so that we can detect them and we can work on them. It's a very versatile data set. Okay. Now, if I want to find out the Titanic P class, see, P class as a factor. So when I run this, okay, I want to survive. I just want to see who has survived and embarked. Okay. And if I want to plot the ggplot, okay, if I want to go with the plots here, friends, and I click on the plot, and here in the plots, you can see this is a count of the people who have survived, and this is the survived count. Okay, friends. So this is how we can represent the plots. Okay. Just write that probability dot table. And like when you're talking here, we have to go with the GG. As of now, we are going with the ggplot. That is the name of the one of the plots. Execute it. And you can see this plot. So when we are going as per the gender and how many have survived in that class, when you run it, so this is how your plot looks like. So you can see it's beautifully, we have got the output, friends. So friends, let me tell you one thing. Regarding this visualization techniques, we'll be discussing in tomorrow's class because already it is 6:59. So that's all for today, friends. We have discussed about the functions, and also we have discussed about how to go with the business movements and what are the different business movements and how to clean the data in today's class, right? So in tomorrow's class, we'll be discussing about the visualizations and how to go with the different visualizations and going with the transformation. So this is all we'll be concluding in tomorrow's class. So tomorrow is the last class, friends. Okay. So that's all for today. Have a great day. Enjoy your evening and keep on practicing, friends. And till then, tomorrow we'll meet tomorrow evening sharp 6 o'clock. Till then, keep smiling. Bye, friends. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Bye.